Welcome to The Big Picture. I'm John DeSciullo, and Judge Penny Wolfgang is joining us, but has escaped the thrills and chills of Western New York. Judge Penny, where are you?
I am in sunny, beautiful Florida.
And I know you're with a great longtime friend. What are you doing in Florida?
Talking to you and doing The Big Picture. But besides, so our viewers can see us again. However, sitting in the sun, I'm walking by the Intercoastal, I'm relaxing. It's really nice.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your well-deserved vacation to talk with us and be a part of our program. How was the flight? Because I know with all of the various restrictions and the challenges, people have concerns about flying, and the airlines have concerns about getting people to and from wherever they need to go. How was your situation?
It was seamless. There was no problem whatsoever. As we all know, the Buffalo Airport is one of the best functioning, I think, in the country. Took me just a few minutes to get through security. Everybody wore the masks the whole time. I had to change flights in Charlotte to get here to Palm Beach, and everybody was very cooperative. And fortunately, I wasn't on a flight where somebody caused trouble for the attendants, which we've been reading about. So the airport was beautifully run, and everything was perfect.
Judge, I know that a lot of people from Western New York do fly to Florida. We call them snowbirds. Have people recognized you, and have you recognized anybody from Western New York on the beach?
Absolutely. At least 3 people, and I've only been here a few days, just came over and said hello and recognized me, and which I thought was amazing because you can well imagine I don't look like myself with a ponytail and no makeup and big sunglasses and a hat. And they still found me. And it's such a warm, I love it. It's such a warm feeling. That's why we love coming from Western New York. Because no matter where you go, there's somebody from Western New York that's going to find you and say hello to you. Do you know that? I mean, all over the world that's happened. And especially, of course, in Florida.
It is true. And I know that we're here together on The Big Picture. And recently, you touched base with a Western New Yorker named Marianne Esposito, who is the host of Ciao Italia, a spectacular 30-year run on public television. What was that experience like for you? Because I know, Judge Penny, cooking is not high on the list.
Well, that was very tactful. That was very tactful of you. Going back to the fact that Marianne Esposito is from Western New York, you know, we on The Big Picture do as much as we can, talking as many times as we can, and bringing to the public's attention how many successful people there are that started in Western New York and in every kind of career. And we're so proud of it. And we do very often. I mean, just last week we spoke to an artist from Western New York, and, you know, we've spoken to like film stars and whatever. Well, Marianne Esposito is just so world renowned. And so everyone was so excited, all my friends, when I told them, as you pointed out, so not tactfully, I'm not big on cooking or cookbooks or anything to do with the kitchen. But when I told a few friends, Marianne Esposito is going to be here in Western New York, and she's from Western New York, they were so excited. I think, they were, oh my gosh, she's so wonderful. I follow all her recipes. I love her so much. She was the most delightful person, as we will see. And she came back to St. Mary's, which was her alma mater, to help them with a fundraiser. She stayed in touch with, you know, her people that she went to college with and school with and grew up with. And her roots are so deep in Western New York. But as we know, she has specialized in Italian cooking, and she got her start, just like everybody we talked to. She got her start becoming a national figure right here in Western New York, and she is going to tell us about how that happened.
Well, let's take a look. Judge Penny with Marianne Esposito.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno, Judge.
We are so excited to have you here in Western New York. But I guess we should tell our viewers right away what brings you back to Western New York.
Well, first of all, I was born in Buffalo, so I'm a native. And I went to school, St. Mary's High School in Lancaster, and I'm here to do a fundraiser for my high school.
And so obviously you've kept in touch and you've been loyal, even though your journeys have taken you so far away. Let us begin by asking you about your journey. How did a girl from Depew, New York, end up a world famous author and culinary chef and everything that happened to you. How did your journey begin and how did it end up there?
Well, you know, Judge, to answer that question, we would need more than the time you have for this interview. But I would say that my first visit to Italy in 1984 was the time when a light bulb went on. And all of a sudden, everything that I knew from growing up on Sanilac Street in Depew, New York, clicked. Because I lived in a house with two Italian grandmothers, both Southern Italians, my mother. They were all in the food business. And as I was growing up as a kid, of course, you know, subjectively, you're just kind of indoctrinated into all of that. I saw how hard they worked, made loaves of bread on the hottest of August days, were singeing chickens, you know, doing tomatoes in the heat of the summer. And I said, that's not for me. Nope, I want none of that. So as I grew older, went to college here at Rosary Hill, which is now Damon College, got my degree and taught for a few years in Buffalo, actually. But then I decided, well, I should really go back to school and get my master's degree. So I lived in a town where there was a university, and I enrolled, and I decided to study Italian Renaissance history with a major in Italian regional foods. And that was the ticket.
The light bulb went off.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So I got my master's degree, and then I started traveling in Italy. And as I traveled, I just became much more aware of how important my heritage was. What these three women who had been slaving at the stove when I was a kid, what they were doing and what they represented, and really what they had passed on to me, the traditions. Because even though subjectively I saw them doing this and wanted no part of it, I knew exactly what to do. Because you watch your parents, you become like them after a while. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I started researching and reading as much as I could about Italian foods. I went to cooking schools in Italy. And after I came back, I thought, well, maybe I could use my teaching experience in a larger capacity, in a different venue. And I went to the public television station in our town, connected with the university, and I gave them a proposal about Italian regional food. Not Italian food, because the subject of my proposal was there is no such thing as Italian food. Having traveled in Italy, I knew this. I knew that there was only regional food, and every region was different. So they were intrigued by the title. There is no Italian food? Really? What about pizza, meatballs, all that stuff? And they looked it over and they said, oh, well, we don't really have a kitchen or anything, we can't do it. I was happy. I said, thank you, goodbye. I went back to what I was doing, which at that time I also had a catering business, so I was still, with food. A year later, this TV station came back to me and said, we've re-looked at that proposal of yours. We'd like you to do a demo for us, a pilot program. And not knowing anything about television, I said, sure. So one hot August day, they came to my house, all these people, producers, directors, people who gelled windows, slapped makeup on you, microphones, and said, okay, go ahead, talk. And that's when you knew that you really either knew what you were doing or you didn't, because there was no script or anything. You had to talk and cook and know that you were telling a story to somebody that's going to make sense. So there had to be a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that's how Ciao Italia started.
And when you say regional, do you have a favorite region? Is that like asking what's your favorite child?
It is like asking what's your favorite child. All the regions are wonderful. I think I'm very partial to Sicily, though, because half of my family comes from Sicily, the center of Sicily. And if you've ever been to Sicily, it's very different from the rest of the boot. It has more of a language that's dialect that even mainland Italians would not even recognize. It has a cuisine that's very eclectic, because you have the influence of so many cultures. The Phoenicians, the Romans, the Greeks, the Spaniards, the Arabs. So all of that is what makes up what is known as Sicilian food. So that, I would say that Sicily is probably, one of my favorites.
And as far as doing the show goes, how do you decide what you're going to make and what ingredients you're going to put in and how you're going to explain it to the audience?
Well, what I want to do in the first place is make something that is traditional, But secondly, the ingredients are accessible to people. You know, like I'm not going to do roasted goat on a spit because I have to remember, you know, that we're not in Italy. We're in a countryside where you would do this. But, you know, my audience is a mix of people from different places, suburbs, cities, you know, rural areas. So you want to do things that are going to be doable for them. So you have to be able to have the ingredients, be able to reach the ingredients. Secondly, I want it to be a show around recipes that tell stories about the recipes in particular. Like, for instance, this season, which was our 30th season, which I told you earlier we filmed in a cooking school, I focused one show on the region of Abruzzi, or Abruzzo, as some people call it. And in the Abruzzo region for Easter, they make a very special cake called a soffione. So I decided, yes, we're going to introduce our audience to soffione, which is a ricotta-filled cake that's, you know, just heavenly with coffee or espresso. I did another show from Naples, which was called Crazy Water, acqua pazza, which was a fish dish where you are cooking the fish in a light tomato broth. So wanting to bring those kinds of elements into the program and then explaining, for instance, why is this called Crazy Water, this fish dish?
I give up.
Yeah. So, yeah, acqua pazza. And the story is that sailors, when they would get their catch, would boil the fish in the salt water at sea, which, you know, was too salty. And so it was called Crazy Water. So that's why. And then over time, different things were added to this, like the tomatoes and the olives and the spices. So over time, these, quote, what we call recipes evolved from what you had on hand, because Italian regional food has no formula. It only has what is available in an indigenous area to a cook who uses their imagination to create something. So if you walked around Naples and you wanted to know how to make a basic tomato sauce, and there were 6 neighbors all on that block, knock on every door. And every person is going to tell you, no, she does it wrong. This is how you do it. And then she'll tell you, no, that's not right. This is how you do it. So there's no formula.
They say to me, they told me, and another friend too told me, that they feel like they can smell as you're describing how to make the dishes, that they actually, it's so real that you can kind of smell and almost taste what you're doing, which is a talent you obviously have to make it seem real.
Well, yes, I really try to relate to the audience. I'm me. I'm the same person on screen as I am here talking to you. So I think that's what's helped Ciao Italia stay on the air for 30 years, is that people are familiar with it. It's like a friend is coming over,
Exactly.
you know, for dinner, and you're just talking about the food and yes, and people can follow the recipes. Yes, here is my latest book, by the way, which is book number 13. So this is about my adventures in Italy, across the boot, and the recipes in here come from all the various regions of Italy. So it's a good read, but it's also a good travel log.
Thank you so much. It was so wonderful talking to you.
It was nice talking to you.
And I'm sure our viewers feel like they know you, and they're going to be following the recipes, getting the books, watching you on PBS, and I want to try this out. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, Marianne
Ciao.
Esposito.
Ciao to you.
Judge, that was a spectacular interview, and it really made a beautiful connection. And I know that Marianne Esposito is on Facebook, so we can all follow her, correct?
And we can find her cookbooks, many cookbooks, in any of the bookstores and online.
Yeah. Well, Judge Penny Wolfgang, we're going to have more of The Big Picture with you in Florida and me in Buffalo when we come back right after this.